I grew up experiencing a ton of pain. We're going to go deep now. You ready? I grew up experiencing a ton of pain. And it's actually not all entirely true. Until about age 5, my life was really, really lovely. I had this belief that like all was good in the world, and I felt happy. I remember like hopping into my bed at night, and I had this pink bed that was covered in pink ruffles, and it had a canopy with these white like pillar columns, and it was pink and fluffy. And my mom used to say, you look like E.T. in there, because I'd set up all my little stuffed animals and like poke my face out. And I remember like hopping into bed at night and like rubbing my back into the covers, feeling this like euphoria, like I'm so happy, like I'm here on this planet, I'm alive, I have this family, and I have like my animals and my pink bed, and like all the food I could want, and candy, and like friends, and life is so good, and all my ancestors, and that was my life. And that was that feeling of just this joy that I experience everything through my body really viscerally, which is part of why I'm good at what I do, because I help people bring it into your body. Stop talking about these theories and like embody them. And I would feel this joy like rushing up and like out, just this euphoria. And I remember when after my dad died, fast forward many years, noticing the absence of that, noticing that like I didn't even know how to call that back in. And I used to just feel so sad about that. My whole life had gotten flipped upside down. Most of my ancestors had died. My dad had died. My mom wasn't dead but had lost custody of me, and I was living with my aunt and uncle in a boarding house, and just feeling this like, where is that? I felt like I lost the essence of myself somehow. And somewhere along that time, around age 10, my body started to change. And this is a part of my story I don't share very often. I developed something which I didn't know the name of until much later, until I was like 25. Something that they call PSAS or PGAD, persistent genital arousal disorder, or persistent sexual arousal syndrome. And like maybe you've heard about this in the tabloids. They make it like this super crazy thing, and they'll say something like woman has 1,000 orgasms in a day or something. It's not actually like that for anyone. Now there's like small communities forming around it and stuff that I'm a part of and don't do a whole lot with because I've pretty much healed it. But I developed this around age 10. And usually they say this develops. It develops like usually due to some sort of trauma. The age for me that it developed apparently is unusual, but they don't have a whole lot of data about it, because women's health and especially women's sexuality has been so taboo to speak about that literally they didn't even have a name for this thing until I was around like 22 to 25. I mean, seriously, we feel like we're so evolved and advanced, but it's like I'm turning 34 next week, so it was 10 years now that they finally felt comfortable talking about the fact that some women have spontaneous orgasms. So I started having these spontaneous orgasms. Literally, it happened in the middle of a classroom. I was so embarrassed because I didn't even know what was going on. I just knew it felt really good, and I was so embarrassed, and I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't have to like move or do anything. It just happened. It was the most bizarre thing, like seared into my memory. And then, that became this whole other journey that I won't go into all the ups and downs and details with, but I have found tons of peace with it now. But, actually when people have this, it's like extremely distracting. It causes a lot of pain at times. And for some people, it can lead them to like suicide and stuff like that. For me, it brought on a lot of shame because of my religious upbringing and different aspects of that. Um, but, you know, worked my way through that and really feel like I've come to a place of healing with that, which, by the way, if anyone's listening and you're like, oh my God, I have this and I never told anybody, please reach out to me. Like, I am an open book about talking about this. But I bring this up for a really specific reason. I mean, we're just getting all the things out today, aren't we? I believe that for me, this was a part of my spirit teaching me the reality of the truth of who I really am so that I could then go out and teach it to the world. Can you see the symbolic, like the, oh gosh, isn't that beautiful? Like something that was so awkward and challenging for me for so many years. I really believe, okay, this thing comes on at onset of trauma, and it comes on because our body is like, you're experiencing so much intense emotion that if you don't find some sort of release or outlet for these feelings that you don't even know you're having and you don't even know what to do with and whatever, you're probably going to die. Like, you're going to self-combust. And so my body formed this outlet through pleasure, through my sexuality. How crazy is that? Like, and I don't share this story very often. I mean, it is embarrassing. Like, I do feel a little embarrassed talking about it, but I also don't share it because I don't think it's that relatable. I really don't think there's that many women who have been through this. But it occurred to me recently, like, I haven't really gotten a deep soul why as to this whole journey with this thing until recently. Like, my body was trying to pave the way, saying to me, Melissa, pleasure is your birthright. And yes, you're suffering now, but there is healing to be found. And you don't have to suffer all the time. And pleasure doesn't have to only mean sexual pleasure or, you know, clitoral pleasure. It doesn't have to mean that. But in my life and in my upbringing, that was a part of my journey. And I think how many women out there, because I speak to women so often about sex and these kinds of things, how many women out there literally just have this whole thing shut down? We're guarded, we're scared, we're, you know, we've been violated, we've had trust broken, we've felt betrayed, we've, even if we weren't necessarily like sexually assaulted, we have been physically assaulted, we have been, you know, made to believe our bodies aren't ours, even down to simple things like when you were a kid, did anybody force you to kiss your grandmother when you really didn't want to? Like, even that is the message of your body's not yours. Like, do what I tell you. So we have all these things that happen that separate us from our true natures of our bodies, and especially from that pleasure and that sensuality that's uniquely ours. You guys heard me say this before, but women's bodies are the only bodies that have a pleasure organ. It's so amazing to me. So that's why I keep repeating it. If you listen all the time, you probably are like, yes, we've heard you say that. Okay, now I can see some of you watching, and I can see you haven't said hi. Please say hi to me. Say hi, because I just told you a super vulnerable story, okay? So where do we go with this? Well, the other day I was with my husband, and we had just kind of had this long night of connecting and sharing, and it was really beautiful. And I was contemplating like the reality of who we really are, especially as women, and pleasure. Like, this divine download just came through, like, it's pleasure. I think that when we no longer exist in this sphere, in this plane, in this tangible way, I think our existence has elements of just pure joy, pure pleasure. I even think pleasure might be a component of like the glory of God. I'm not going to go any deeper on this because I don't know that those of you listening are like following. My coaching clients get like all the really deep stuff. But I'm gonna just like pause it there and say, like, I really do think as we fret, as turmoil spins around us, as suffering comes and goes, even in and through our lives, in and through our families, as we face challenges with our businesses, as we face challenges with our health, or all of these different things. And as we get ourselves so worked up and overwhelmed and stressed out, especially as business women, all the while, I believe the universe is calling to us, saying, how much pleasure can you actually stand? And that phrase comes actually from my coach. I want to give her credit. Susan Glusica helped me realize, like, that was the message. Through money, through our bodies, through nature, through our relationships, through our friendships even, through our homes. Literally, I think the invitation in every moment is, how much pleasure can you possibly stand? And so I want to invite you to just take a deep breath and feel into that. Feel if that resonates for you. Does that feel like that could possibly be true? And I know what you're thinking, especially if you've been through trauma. There's that little ego voice that's going to kick in and say, yeah, right. What the freak is she talking about? Look at all you've been through when you lost a child, or when your husband cheated on you, or when your parents abandoned you. And like, you guys, I know, because those are a lot of my stories too. I know this life can bring us intense pain and sorrow. If you watch my video that I did earlier this morning where I was in my car, I am well acquainted with pain and sorrow, and part of being in the feminine is embracing the paradox, like the both-sidedness of our existence, the opposition in all things. And so I go, is it possible that you could be experiencing these intense sufferings and pains, these kinds of overwhelms and stressors, and at the same time being invited in each moment into deeper pleasure? My last question for you is, what is preventing you from accessing your next level of pleasure? What's preventing you? Think about that. What's blocking you? Where does pleasure become like, oh, I can't go there. I can't go there. I'll hear things like, I'll never be able to mend these relationships. I'll never be able to trust in this level again. I'll never be able to reach that income level. I just don't want to work that hard. I'll never be able to what? What is it, the thing you're saying? I'll never be able to orgasm. I'll never be able to let my husband in at that deepest level. What is the thing that you're saying? I'll never be able to really enjoy food. I'm too worried about the calories. Like, there's, no matter what the avenue is, there's so many different things that want to sneak in and say, no, pleasure is bad, like, don't even go there. And we haven't even gotten started on the whole conversation of all the wrong ways that people have sought after pleasure. The kind of pleasure we're talking about here is just for you, sacredly selfish pleasure that never hinders or hurts another person. If it hinders or hurts another person, that's not the kind of thing we're talking about in this context. So really ask yourself, what is it that prevents you? Maybe it's even like religious talk like that. Like, well, pleasure can't be good. I'm only supposed to want, like, I heard a couple of things this week. I'm only supposed to want God to have pleasure. I'm only supposed to want to provide and please others. I'm not supposed to want that for myself, or it's selfish or wrong for me to say I deserve that for myself. I mean, man, where do we get all this conditioning from? Because what I know is that when I am in my pleasure and I am turned on, whether it's by the mangoes I'm eating or by the sunset or by, being open and receptive to my husband, or even through, orgasms that are happening spontaneously. Whatever the reason is, I am a better human being because of it. I'm like better able to show up for my clients, better able to show up for my family members. Like, I'm turned on, literally, and I am better. So I challenge you all to embrace your next level of pleasure. And next week, we're going to be running a challenge. I'm not going to go live next week because it's my birthday and it's Thanksgiving, and I may pop in and do some like unplanned lives around some of the daily themes. We'll just see how I feel. If it brings me pleasure, I'll do it. If it doesn't, I won't. We're going to create an event page all around a challenge for you guys for next week. A challenge to, what did I call it? Open your heart and recharge. Next week is Thanksgiving in the U.S., and so it's a great week to like attune ourselves to the vibration of gratitude and love, which are the highest vibratory frequencies. I kind of hate highest. It makes it feel like there's a hierarchy. What it actually means is that when we're in love and gratitude, our little molecules of our being are vibrating the fastest, and that is like the state of like godhood. So there's some like consciousness, esoteric stuff for you, more to chew on. But I think next week is such a great opportunity for that. So the first 2 days, we're going to focus on kind of like carving out, opening up, releasing what doesn't serve us. I call it unplugging. And then the second part of the week, we're going to focus on the recharge activities. So there'll be an activity posted every single morning. I invite you to make this your morning routine. So set on a little alarm in your phone. Everything will be posted by, I think, what did we say, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time or something like that. So set a little alarm in your phone and like come to here. Don't go scroll Facebook. Just come to Women Manifesting Intimacy and join us for this beautiful challenge. Just a fun opportunity to do something different and make our Thanksgiving week really intentional. And I believe that if you do these activities, it's going to bring you closer to this idea of really experiencing pleasure in your life so that you can turn around and be the influence and impact that you're meant to be in the world and have the relationships that you really want in the world. But as you all know, for Facebook challenges, as far as Facebook challenges go, this one's going to be awesome, but it's not going to be like the end-all be-all. If what I have shared with you really resonates, and you've been watching my messaging for a while, and it really is resonating with you, my friends, I'm telling you, you're going to get way more out of coming in and working with me in a one-on-one basis, where I don't just talk at you, I listen to you, and we help draw out the truths that are true for you and how you can take your next steps forward. So if that resonates with you and you're like, yeah, you know what, why am I just waiting on this? Book a call with me. Let's do this. Let's get you all signed up. And as a matter of fact, if you already know you're ready to jump and ready to go, just go straight to my website and click on individual coaching, and you can make the purchase right there. There's a couple of you in here who I know I've already had calls with. Like, what are you waiting for? Just come on, let's do it. Okay, loves, thanks so much for watching. Bye.